from the WLXI studios in Greensboro, North Carolina, it's Triad Alive, proclaiming the gospel to the Triad area, giving glory to the Lord in word and in song. On Triad Alive.
Welcome to Triad Alive. My name is Pastor David Longobardo of World Vision International Christian Center in Greensboro, and we welcome you to today's broadcast. We have a jam-packed, wonderful broadcast. We are going to be interviewing a man by the name of Stan Lake, and Stan has been called the Christian crocodile hunter. This man loves himself some animals. And so we're going to be talking to Stan about his love of creatures and animals and where all that came about and what he's doing with it. But we're also going to have some fantastic music. You will hear from David Gungor and Brilliance, and they are brilliant as it relates to their worship music. You will enjoy it. And then we'll be talking with Dr. Hank Simmons. He is the pastor of Bethany Church here in the Triad area, and we're looking forward to talking to Dr. Hank and learning about how God is using him and the church in a very unique way. So thank you for being a part of Triad Alive. Stan, welcome. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
We are delighted to have you, and we're looking forward to exploring your love of God's creation. The Bible makes it very clear that on the fifth day of creation, he created all kinds of creeping things.
Absolutely.
What kind of creeping things?
All land animals and things like that. And on the sixth day, after he was done creating, he said, all things were very good. So you and me are very good, and the snakes and the spiders and the frogs, they're also very good, because God said it in his word.
So you are into crocs, you are into snakes, you are into all kinds of insects?
Absolutely. I'm into a little bit of everything. I think it's kind of funny. Everybody says the Christian crocodile hunter just based on the documentary things that I do. I've never actually caught a crocodile, but I will eventually in the future. But yeah, as far as that goes, I will catch anything, and I love animals. It's just been something I've been passionate about since I was a young kid.
Coming right now is a roll-in. This is a part of the very work that Stan is involved with, Catching Creation. Enjoy this roll-in.
That was a close one. I just saved this turtle out of the road. You see that it's a real busy road, and there's people probably going to run it over at any minute. This is an eastern box turtle. It's a male. You can tell that by the indentation on the bottom of its plastron right here. Cool thing, as you can see what he's doing right now, is a box turtle is one of the only turtles that can go completely inside of their shell to elude predators. So that helps in his defense. It's kind of like in Ephesians 6 when it talks about we have to carry around the full armor of Christ and we carry our shield of faith. He lives inside of his shield of faith. Another cool point about this is the fact that he was crossing a road. And even though it's not busy, like I was joking, cars do travel up here. And so in a real sense, we offered him salvation by pulling him out of the road, just like Jesus pulled us off the path that we were on, headed straight to hell. Jesus pulled us off, gave us salvation, and put us on our way in a safer path, like we're going to do with this guy as we let him go. Right now, there are a bunch of toads, just like this guy right here, that are in love. Because right now they're calling for mates. The female is about twice the size of the male. Now, they have what's called external fertilization. And she'll lay the eggs, and the male will fertilize them as they go into the water as eggs. And then they'll be in like a gelatinous mass, and they'll morph out into tadpoles in about 2 to 3 weeks after they're laid. And then they'll raise up in here and turn into froglets and metamorph out and become a new creation, like when we become a new creation in Christ, when we first accept him into our hearts. Now the female will carry the male until, oh, there they go. She'll carry the male until
She lays the eggs or another male knocks him off and gets on there. So it's it's a neat process, it really is. It's hurting my ears, it is so loud in here. It's
This is a fence lizard, and look, he's eating something. He's eating a grub worm. We didn't even notice that when he was on the tree, so he was going after him. He wasn't paying attention to me, he was paying attention to his meal. And he grabbed him up, and he's just chomping him on down. He doesn't really care too much about us being here. Now this is a fence lizard. Some people call it a fence swift. Oh no! Some people call him really swift. That was crazy. Alright, so like we were saying, this is the fence swift, or fence lizard. Still chomping on the grub worm, still eating it. Now, lizards have a crazy ability to where if they're threatened by a predator, they can regenerate their tail. So if you pull it off, a lot of times they'll release their tail in an effort to like distract the predator. So he'll focus on the tail wiggling away, and the lizard will run off. Alright, so check this out. You've probably never seen the crocodile hunter this shook up, or Jeff Corwin, or any of these other dudes on TV. But I just stepped right next to this joker looking for something else. We're not even looking for snakes right now. Now you're asking yourself, why does that even matter? What is that animal right there? Well, let me show you what this animal is, because it's got a little horrible reputation. Actually, the scientific name is Crotalus horridus. This guy is the timber rattlesnake. Now this is the canebrake version of the timber rattlesnake. Now, we can make a parallel with like a lesson from the Bible with this guy. Like snakes are spoken of all over the place, but specifically snakes represent sin, right? Now I've got a good control over it because I'm not getting too close to it. So if it's like sin, I'm not getting real close to it. I'm keeping a good distance from it, right? But if I try to get a little bit closer, sin can grab me and sink its fangs into my flesh. And then it'll start to rot my flesh and just kill me away. And ultimately, if I stay too close to it and it continues to sink its fangs into my flesh, I'll die because I won't be in control of it.
That's Stan, and Stan is with us. Stan, you like all those creepy crawly things.
absolutely.
Man, so where did this love come from? Did you have an older brother? Did you have a father? Did you have some older friend that took you out and began to cultivate your love for, how did all this start?
Well, I didn't have any older siblings. I have a younger brother and a younger sister that I grew up with, that we would go out in the woods and we would just catch things. My mom would encourage it. She would take us to the creeks and flip over rocks and look for salamanders. My dad, when we'd go spend time with him on his weekends, he would flip over a rock and we'd find crawdads. So,
how old?
I mean, as old as I can remember, 5, 6, 7 years old.
So this began very early.
Absolutely,
in your life. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and it has grown now to where, in just a short period of time, you'll be coming out with your first book, I believe. Tell us about Todd the Toad.
A couple of weeks ago, so I work as a video editor and things take a long time to render, and I got some time, so in my downtime I was just writing, and the Lord just dropped this idea in my head about Todd the Toad. It's about an albino toad that everybody makes fun of him, and he's just completely different, and nobody loves him, so everybody in the book is just really mean to him. And not to give away the ending, but at the end someone comes up and loves him because he's different, and that's just the whole premise of the book. And I can't explain it, but I really feel like the Lord just downloaded that because I'm not that creative.
Stan, on your website, you've got a variety of videos and documentaries, and you're getting ready to come out with a book. All of this is about God's creation. All of it's about various animals and your love of all these different, from snakes to toads to all kinds of things. But what I want to ask you is this. You have an interesting background. As a young lad, you were bullied yourself. Give us a glimpse into that and how that impacted your life. Absolutely.
So just growing up, I was kind of introverted. Like I said, when my parents were divorced, I think I just kind of went introspective or introverted. And it made it hard. I got picked on a lot in elementary school, wore glasses, I was really quiet, read a lot of books, and that really doesn't help you be popular.
Yeah.
So, so I got picked on naturally. And just through that, I just became to really fall in love with animals because, you know, they don't talk to me. They allow me in their world, and I'm able just, you know, to communicate with them, not in a weird way, but, you know, just to know about them. And the more I learned about animals, the more I learned that I could find them about anywhere I went. I would just come with something, you know, in my hand and say, wow, like, this is amazing. Or I would just learn about their habitats. And so just through that, I just kind of turned to books and I turned to animals, and it helped me to really appreciate nature.
So really, out of the experience of kind of rejection and being bullied, you turned your affection in this direction, and all of a sudden you began to find a great deal of fulfillment in your little friends.
Absolutely. I can tell you that I've always felt loved when I'm in the woods, when I'm walking with God, so to speak. Like, you know, I can parallel it with Adam, you know, in Genesis, walking in the cool of the day in the garden. I can imagine how that would have been. Just because, like, I just feel God when I'm walking out there in his creation, and I'm so passionate about it because that's where I've always felt accepted. I guess that would be the main thing. Like,
so all this began because you know the Bible, you love the Bible. Oh, no, it didn't begin that way.
No, not at all.
Tell us a little bit about those early stages and the fact that faith in God and the Bible really weren't on your radar screen at all.
Absolutely. So I grew up not really going to church. My background, you know, we would go to church with whatever step-parent at the time decided we needed religion. And so we would go, you know, kind of across the spectrum of different types of churches. So I do remember, you know, accepting the Lord when I was 8 years old, and I remember some other experiences happening when I was 13. And then from that summer on, I fell away from the Lord, and I told everyone I was an atheist, and I was like, or agnostic, you know, but and from that moment on, I just, it took about 10 or 12 years to come back to Jesus. So I pursued science instead of the Lord, I guess, in that moment.
And as you pursued science, what did that do to your view of the Bible and God and creation?
It made me question it a lot. Like, it made me really antagonistic to Christians. You know, I would read the Bible to argue them and to learn about it. And because I believe so strongly in science, see, I had a faith, I just didn't know it. My faith was in science. And I believe so strongly that that stuff was correct. And a lot of it is. I'm not dogging science. But, you know, in that, like, that became my religion. And I became self-righteous. And yeah, like that, I'm not really sure how to explain it otherwise than just I became very angry at God. I became very angry towards Christians, and I turned everything. All of my focus was animals and science. And I even went to school for it for about 3.5 years. I went for environmental biology, but I actually was in the Army, and I had to go.
I want to pursue that.
Okay, because I was going to say that stopped my schooling for science pretty much in its tracks.
You have served in the military in Iraq.
Absolutely.
Tell us about that experience, just very briefly.
Okay, I was in the High Point Army National Guard in 2005 to 2006. We went to Iraq, and we were there for a year. And my call sign there was Critter Getter because I would catch I would catch all the animals. So we weren't allowed to, but we had an understanding that as long as I didn't get hurt, they were cool with it.
So while the other troops were catching terrorists, you were catching critters.
Well, not exactly. Well, when we had downtime, but I do remember one experience. We were pulling guard duty outside of Fallujah, and a camel spider ran across, and I can honestly tell you I was more excited about that than maybe doing what I was supposed to be doing. So I had to get my mind back right. I'm like, all right, wait, I've got a mission. I've got to do something. But
but you ended up coming to Christ.
I did. About a year and a half after I came home from Iraq, just the Lord set a bunch of things in motion. And actually, the guy that I was in Iraq with is my best friend now. He helped lead me to the Lord. Like, the whole time we were having these, you know, debates about God and all these things in the cab of our truck driving across the country of Iraq. So he helped lead me back to the Lord.
And when you came back, you ended up going to Bible school for a while.
Absolutely. I met my wife, Jessica, first semester in Bible college, and we were married 6 months later. And I graduated summa cum laude from the School of Urban Missions Bible College this past May. So it was exciting.
Tell us about, if I go to your website and I access your website, tell us what I'm going to experience, what I'm going to find on your website.
You're going to find, it's basically a blog, so you're going to find a lot of information. Just I'll post things. I'll post articles that I write, or I'll post video clips. There's a videos tab, so you can see the videos you saw plus a lot of others on there. There's going to be information on how to get my DVD, and there's information on, there'll be upcoming information about the book and things like that.
You told me a little story about a particular snake and its redemptive value. Most of us, when it comes to any kind of snakes, we're like, keep them away from me.
Absolutely.
But take just a moment and talk about some of the redemptive values that you have discovered and others have discovered in some snakes that repel us.
So a lot of people will email me or call me and say, hey, I've killed a copperhead. And 9 times out of 10, it's not a copperhead. It's just a venomous snake. I mean, it's just a non-venomous snake that looks, patterned. And but copperhead snakes are actually being studied right now. Their venom is useful for cancer research. Breast cancer is using an enzyme from the venom of copperheads to encapsulate the cancer cell and just flush it out of the system. So it's really cool what God designed us to fear, we actually can benefit from.
Stan has DVDs, Catching Creation, getting ready to come out with a book. Tell me and tell our audience the 3 primary mission focuses of your life and ministry right now.
I think the focus, honestly, is conservation, evangelism, and missions. I could sum those up in basically being a missionary in culture. We don't have to go overseas, even though that's amazing, but we can actually be missionaries in our neighborhood, in the grocery store, just spread the love of Jesus everywhere we go. We can be good stewards of the things God's created, He's entrusted us with by not killing snakes and things like that. And then evangelizing, we can just, again, tell the glory of God and speak the truth of Jesus to everyone we meet, because at the end of the day, He's why we're all here.
You're going into a lot of youth groups and churches and schools talking about your love of these creeping little critters, but also talking about the love of God.
Absolutely. Everyone has a purpose, and like it says in the first chapter of Genesis, we were created very good. So everything God made is very good, including ourselves. And God loves us, and He wants us to love others in His name.
Stan, thank you for being here. We love you. We thank God for what you're doing. At the end of the broadcast, we're going to bring up Stan's website information, and we may even do that right now, so that if you would like to access his website information or contact him, you can do so. Write it down. Catching Creation, there's the information. Stan, thank you for being with us. Coming.